I'm looking forward to this conversation. So you guys bear with me real quick while I get this gentleman that we have here tagged into the comments, so we can get you share this out. Um, all right. So first and foremost, man, let me thank you again because as many should see the flyer that I post, and I've been doing it for a little over a week now. It says the new status quo, if I'm not mistaken, because when it comes to the black community, there are stereotypes, there's status quos that we're expected to fit into, and I feel that when we have the wherewithal and the audacity to step outside of those confines of what society said that we were going to become, that's when we start to develop that new status quo. And I just have been for the longest that individual that I just love going against the grain. I love for someone to tell me that I can't do something, and then I show them that I can, and then don't even say nothing to them about it. I just look at them, just give them that look, and then just keep walking. So it takes us being able to collaborate, us to be able to completely relinquish the whole crab in the bucket mentality and realize that, you know what, I got a little bit of expertise in this area, and this area. You got some expertise right here, right here. How can we come together, even if it's a coming together of the minds, and do something great? And when, as it says in the Bible, I'm not even gonna front like I'm up on my scripture the way that I could be, but greatness comes, service to many leads to greatness. But then at the same time, when two or more come together with a like mind or a similar goal, that's power. That's power. So what I wanted to do today is let this gentleman, and let me get it right now. Let me get it right. Retired first class, retired sergeant first class, James Smith. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, man. You and I have been connected for a couple, I say about 4 or 5 months or so now.
Yeah, going on about 6 months now.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Military man. What, I guess we can kind of start with what actually trigger you to get into what trigger you to get into the military to begin with? And pardon me, real quick, you're gonna see my camera go off, but I'm still listening. So I'm giving it to us.
Well, first I want to thank you, B, because we talk a lot on the phone, and I think Brian, you got to know me pretty well what I do, and I mean, like you said, the status quo. That was one of the things that got me to join the army, because I grew up in a small town in North Carolina. Most people don't even, like, literally, for me to tell people where I grew up at, I have to say, do you know where Greenville, North Carolina is, where East Carolina University is, or do you know where this and this is, because that's how small the town was that I grew up in. And when I say small, the high school I went to, my history teacher was, well, my mom's history teacher was my principal. You know, that's how small this town was. Like, they knew all my cousins that came to this school before me. So you hear people say a small town, not realizing there are those towns that are really in the United States like that, where they literally everybody know everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming from like I said, that small town, grew up in a single parent home. My parents got divorced when I was little, and my mom, trying to make a better way for two boys, we moved to Atlanta, Georgia. So I spent my middle school years in Atlanta, and I had fun there growing up, learning different stuff about the city. But once my grandfather passed away, we moved back to North Carolina with my grandmother. And from that time forward, my mom she was a flight attendant. She used to always try to make sure we knew the world was bigger than our little area. And I think that's one of the things a lot, especially us as black people, we get into a spot and think that's the only spot we supposed to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom always tried to expose us to the bigger world. This is, hey, you can go here, you can go there. And then my aunt, she was in the military. I had a couple cousins that was in the military. So for me, it wasn't because, hey, this person was in the military, or hey, I'm doing it because people say love of country. It was, hey, I get to travel and see the world.
Mm-hmm.
That was my big. A lot of people join to go to college. That wasn't even an option in my book, because I had told my mom at an early age, hey, when I finish high school, I'm joining the military. I'm leaving home.
Yeah.
And she raised me and my brother, which I give her credit, and I give her so much credit for it, because she never told us not to do anything. She never told us not to do it. She said, if you do it, these are the consequences that come along with it. So are you willing to deal with those consequences if you do it? So she pretty much gave us the world and said, hey, you do what you do, but don't be scared to deal with consequences.
Yes. I like that one.
So that ingrained in me, hey, you take responsibility for, so when I joined the military, it was a no brainer. Hey, you go in there, do what you got to do, and you make the best of every situation you come into. So when I joined the military, I joined in 1997, straight out of high school. I graduated May 25th. 2 weeks later, I joined the Army. And then a lot of people's like, well, when did you leave? I left 2 days before my 19th birthday. I spent my 19th birthday in basic. And a lot of people's like, oh, yeah, basic training, that must have been hard on your birthday. Actually, it kind of was, because going the way the Army is set up, you have support MOS, you have support jobs, and you have the combat jobs. And I chose to go support, which is signal communications, because I've always been attracted to engineering, electrical things and stuff like that. So literally, when I went to basic training, they say I was supposed to be going to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, but I ended up going to one of the toughest basic trainings back at that time, which is Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And a lot of people know it as the Hard Knocks, because it's nothing but tankers and infantrymen out there. Mm-hmm. So to be support and be out there, it was kind of, the drill sergeants, they kind of tag you. Oh, that's the support dude. That's the support guy. So, we got picked on, because it was like 5 of us. It was 5 of us that was there. But me, growing up around it and growing up around my aunts and my grandfather, he wasn't a tough man, but he was a man that really instilled in you, speak your mind, stand up for you, be scared to let anybody know what's on your mind. If they don't like it, oh well, but you still be a man and say what you got to say. So through basic training, I was literally the quiet guy. I wouldn't say nothing for probably like the first 2-3 weeks in basic training. The drill sergeants would say, hey, you need to do this. All right, roger that, sergeant, and I'm gone, But at the same time, that getting in trouble for everybody else. One person do something, everybody else get in trouble. For me, I already knew what it was. I knew it was the team building phase. That was that team building phase. We one team. If you never leave a man behind. We say, I got your 6. If you look at the clock, it goes 12 all the way around. When it get to the 6, you behind the 12. Yeah. So we tell people, hey, I got your 6 all the time. And that mentality, for me, it wasn't that hard to get ingrained in, because growing up, it was always me and my little brother. So for me, it was like almost doing exactly what I did at home. I'm taking care of my little brothers. So it was fun for me. Basic training was fun. And then I went to what they call AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training, where I learned my job about being signal, where I learned how to work on radios, all that stuff. And I tell people every day, I say I had the most dangerous job in the military. And they look at me, oh, you was infantry? No. I said, you remember all those military movies with a guy with a radio on his back? They say, yeah. I said, that's my job. And they look at me like wide eyed. Oh, that's the dude that gets shot first. Yes. I say that was the most dangerous job in the military. So they kind of laugh at me like, you were crazy. No, it was, and it in a way, people say They joined the military for many different reasons.
Yeah.
My reason for joining the military, it was a job that I could get paid for. I got a free trip around the world, and I got paid to do it. So it was the fun aspect of it for me. It was fun. It was fun to say, "Hey, I've been here, I've been there, I've been there." And I mean, literally, I was in the army for maybe about a good year before I got sent to Bosnia. That was back in 1999 when we were fighting with Kosovo and all of that. So that was my first experience
Yeah.
leaving this country. And for a 19-year-old kid, excuse me, a 19-year-old kid going to a war zone, never been off the East Coast.
Wow.
I had never left the East Coast until I joined the military. And I'm telling you, when you go to another country, it will literally make you understand how grateful you are for the things that you have. Because when I got there as a 19-year-old kid, I thought I knew everything. I thought I didn't, couldn't nobody tell me nothing. And to get over there, I'll never forget, as 19, we did a humanitarian mission to a school. And we pulled up to this school, and I never forget it. It was a school, it was right off the side of a ravine, and it was like a deep creek there. And you look at the school, you look across the street to the ravine, and it's bombed out. Some of the school is bombed out. But the look on these little kids' faces, you can never forget, because all we brought was pens, pencils, paper, crayons, stuff like that. They were so happy just to get that stuff. And it was like, we got people in America who have 10 times more than this, and they complain about everything. That right there, when I tell you it hit, I was like, never again will I complain about not having something. Because it's like these kids, even though they going to school in a bombed out school, they were happy to go to school. They were just happy to even get little things. And I said, we in America, we complain, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that. And it's like, how can you do that when you have kids on the other side of the world who have 10 times less than what you have, but they're still grateful that they're even alive? So it was really touching from that standpoint. So after that, I literally, my whole mindset changed on, I gotta always have this, I gotta always have that. And so I started always teaching myself, between a want and a need.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many people say, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this, when you really don't need it. I've taught my kids this, and sometimes my wife, she even laughs at me, because we will go in a store and I will pick something up and I'll walk around that whole store, and before we get to the cash register, I sit it back down, and she'll say, "Oh, I thought you was gonna get." No, I don't need it, because the whole time I'm walking around the store, I'm thinking, do I really want this, or do I need it, or do I just want it? So I get my kids in that mentality of thinking between a want and a need, because a lot of stuff that we have in America, we think we need it, but we really don't. It's just something that we wanted to get because, oh, I have the money to get it, you know. And I used to think, oh, I work so hard for this money. I work so hard for it. I can't take it with me when I leave, and blah blah blah. I used to think that was my mentality of it. Was, oh, why should I wait to get something that I want when I have the money to get it now? But then it took me really starting to get out of the military to realize where I went wrong. Because my uncle coming into the military, he tried to show me how to do trading. He tried to show me, hey, this is what you need to do while you're in the military. But again, like I said, when you're 19 years old, getting out of your parents' house, it's like, don't tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. So it didn't register. It didn't register in my brain that he's trying to show me how I could possibly be a millionaire by the time I get out of the army. And it didn't register. So a lot of times I would find myself in the proverbial living paycheck to paycheck. I knew on the first of the month I got a guaranteed paycheck. I knew on the 15th I got a guaranteed paycheck. But being that young, what I did was I blew it. I blew it. I mean, I was, buying clothes, buying sneakers, buying CDs, I was going to the club, doing all this other stuff, not realizing that I was digging a deeper hole myself.
Yep.
Because I would put $200-300 away, but soon as that money that I had in my checking account would disappear, oh, let me go into savings and take $100 here. Oh, on payday, I'll go back and put that $100 back. But when payday come around, that $100 don't go back in there.
You already were planning on what you're gonna spend it on.
Exactly. And so it was one of them things where I literally, I was kicking myself in the butt the older I got. But when I got married and I had kids, let's say that changed the game up real quick. That changed the game real quick. When I got married and had kids, it was like, hold up. Like, I can't do this no more. I have to put money away.
This is actually a great segue. So much of what you've just been mentioning was, there came a point where you had to start shifting your mindset. You was that young single guy, and trust me, I was working at McDonald's. When I was that age, I was working at McDonald's. I was making $424.72 every pay period. If I worked 40 hours, $424.72, like on the dot. I remember, and I'm talking about I was balling, man. I was balling like I ain't have no bills beside putting gas in my car and keep my phone bill paid. That's all I had. That was my only expense. So
I didn't even have that. I didn't have no cell phone. I didn't even have a card note. You know what I'm saying? And that was the crazy part. It's like, okay, I don't have a cell phone. I don't have a car note. What am I spending my money on? Oh, I went to Canada this weekend. Oh, I went to Syracuse last weekend. Oh, I bought those new sneakers this weekend. And it's just like, you don't realize it. But man, when I got to Germany and me and my wife got married, it's like I started realizing the things that I spent my money on.
Exactly.
And that's what made me realize I really didn't spend my money on anything.
Mm-hmm. That's it, man.
I spent my money on nothing. Because people say, oh, if you don't know where your money going, you really wasting it. And that's true. You don't know where your money going, you're wasting it. But now, if I say, okay, this paycheck is gone, well, a lot of people say, oh, well, how can you live like that? Because I tell people, I say, I'm broke. And they were like, what do you mean you broke? I said, if I got less than a certain amount of money in my bank account, I'm broke. I said, I can still have money in my account, but I'm broke if I get below a certain amount. And to them, they're saying, well, what do you mean you broke? I'm like, because first of all, I always make sure, the one thing my uncle taught me, and it kicked in toward the end of my time in the military, was pay yourself first.
Yep.
I said, so every month, I make sure I pay myself first. I put money away. I said, 2, my bills get paid, and 3, my kids get taken care of. So therefore, if I don't have a certain amount of money left over after doing those things, I'm broke until next payday. So I was literally like, and I could feel it in myself, and I could feel it in, I could feel it that I was starting to remember those things, and then I thought about it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people's parents have said it, but my grandmother said it. And to this day, knock on wood, she just turned 94 years old. She's been here, and that's always been our family rock right there. And literally, she would say, "You may not listen to me today. You may not listen to me tomorrow. You may not listen to me for the next 3 months." But she said, one day something's gonna happen, and you're gonna think back and say, "Huh, Grandma told me that." And I tell people all the time, I said, do you know how many times in 22 years in the military that I thought back and said, man, my grandma told me that. I said, you can't help but to laugh, because it's like, man, I should have just listened when she told me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of the things. I think people go through things and they get down about it, because I even get down about it sometimes, and I try to tell people all day, don't think because I'm in the military that I'm some Superman. I've had people tell me, oh, you in the military, y'all shouldn't be scared of nothing. But no, we not Superman. We got feelings just like y'all got. We got feelings just like y'all got. I said that, and that's the biggest downtrodden to us is because once we get out of the military, dealing with mental health issues, they think we don't it's not a big deal. Oh, they was in the military, they should be able to deal with it. No, there's times when I don't want to talk to nobody. My kids even know that. They times when it's just like, don't say nothing to me, or I'll sit in my room all day and my kids is downstairs. My wife is downstairs watching TV, or they outside and I'm sitting in my room all day because I get in those moods. And so a lot of people don't understand when it comes to the military, there's a lot that goes on inside of the military. And it's not just the fighting and going to combat. It's leaving your families behind for months on end. You know, my I got married to my wife in September of 2002. We left Germany and went to Hawaii. We were there in August of 2003. Exactly 6 months later, I was on a plane going to Afghanistan for 12 months. My daughter spoke no English. She spoke no English. My wife spoke some English, but it wasn't as well as it is now. Then she's in Hawaii by herself with no family. Oh, by the way, she's and I'm in a combat zone. People don't understand that's a bigger toll on you than anything else. Shooting. Okay, we taught to shoot, move, and communicate. That's how what we taught. Shoot, move, and communicate in the military. They don't teach us how to deal with being away from home and being homesick and not seeing your wife, and things like that. So it's one of those things that people, I think if more Americans, well, more people in general would seriously sit back and listen to people in the military, we would have a whole lot better system to deal with their mental health issues. Because instead of them thinking that we're supermen because we joined the military, they got to be tough. They joined the Marines, the Navy, they tough. No, we're not. We're not. We're tough because we're doing what less than 1% of the entire nation decide to do. And that's what people don't understand is when you join the military, you are a part of an elite group because less than 1% of the United States population joins the military. Less than 1%. And it's like, no, we're not Superman, but we just chose to do something better than what y'all doing, you know. So it's one of them things where I always take to heart, and I used to say, man, when I get out of the military, I'm flipping that page, and I'm never gonna talk about it again. But I found that me talking about it has helped so many people because I've had people tell me, hey, matter of fact, I've had Miss Shirlene tell me, hey, you need to sit down and just start typing. Mm-hmm. You got a book. She's like, you got a book, maybe 2-3 books in you. She said, because she's like, just listening to you, you could tell a whole story on what you went through from the time you joined to the time you left. And literally, when she told me that, I never thought about it. And so one day, after she told me, I just got on and I just pulled up a Word document and went to town. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm actually sitting down telling my story because, like she told me, she said, you don't know who you might help. She said, you might, just your words alone could help somebody. So it really touched me. And so I've been literally sitting down and just going back in my head and, typing stuff out. And once I got out, I told myself, hey, I'm not going to work for nobody. I don't want to take orders from anybody because I've taken orders for 22 years, having people telling me when to get up, when to do this, when can I stay, and a lot of people, 22, from 18 to 41, and it's like people don't realize, it's like, you don't understand. And I always try to laugh at people when they say, oh man, that's hard. I say, y'all don't understand. That's like being in jail. And they look at it, that's not like being in jail. I say, no. I say, we all wear the same uniform. We soldiers 24/7. We can get called in at any given time of the day. It could be a Sunday morning. You sitting in church and you get called, hey, we going to the field this afternoon. You need to get back. Guess what? I got to leave church, go pack my bags, and let's go, And then on top of that, I said, you are pretty much at the will of the people that you work for. You're at the will of those people, you know. So it's one of those things I try to tell people: don't discount it. Don't ever discount the military as this great organization, because I've dealt with a lot of different things throughout the military, and I tell people, you know, Brian, you know me. I'm a straight shooter. I don't pull no punches with nobody. But I tell people every day, most people don't understand. With the situation we're dealing with in the United States right now, those are the things that I went in the military to fight against. You know, those are the things I went in the military to fight against. But at the same time, a lot of people don't understand that the military is one of the biggest racist organizations in the world. They don't understand it. And I have people look at me like, what do you mean it's the biggest race? Because here's the catch. When the military, back in the day, I'm an avid historian. When we went to go fight World War II, black people were good enough to go fight. They were good enough to go to Germany and give up their life. They could go over there. They could go to clubs. They could do this. But guess what they couldn't do? They couldn't bring those German women back, those white women that they got killed from over there. So they got labeled war babies. And then the white kids bring theirs back. And so I tell people every day, the biggest racist organization, because you hide behind that uniform. Because people only see the uniform and they think because we're all in the same uniform, we all fighting for the same country. Oh, there can't be any racism. Yes, there can be. That's just a good way to hide it, you know. So it's one of those things that a lot of it. I'm a realist. I try not to be negative, but then again, I say you can't have good without the evil, the yin and the yang. You know, so I tell people every day, yeah, it's good to be positive, but also you got to realize with that positivity comes a negative too. It goes hand in hand, you know. So I mean, I'm just you know me. I'm just straightforward, you know, and that's always been how I live my life, you know. So
That's it, man. That's it. You know, all we can do is take from our life experience and apply that on a day-to-day basis to move forward in life, be it moving away from what you've experienced or be it creating new experiences so that you can find a new direction to move towards. Because if you got 22 years in the military, like that's all you know. That lifestyle, that way of being, that mindset, that's all that you know. So until you get around other individuals, till you have things happen in your life, it's going to be difficult to change course, so to say. But something that you mentioned earlier, and I took note on it, was your mindset shifting regarding how you looked at money, how you looked at your spending habits, things along those lines. Whenever you had your child, and I remember I was 21 years old when my son was born, and before then, like I was mentioning earlier, that $420 something every 2 weeks, that's all I needed. Like I was good. But whenever he was born, I'm like, okay, now I got to pick up another job because this McDonald's paycheck ain't gonna cut it. So I was at McDonald's during the day. I was doing an overnight at the hotel. At the hotel doing night audit. So I kind of doubled my income, or almost double my income, but like I was wearing myself down from one job to another, and I finally switched and got into another field, and I started to bring in some big money, but I didn't understand the philosophy of money. I learned that first relationship. I learned how to make it. I wasn't saving any, and I definitely wasn't growing any. So we're gonna use this time to make a shift, man. So you were straight out of high school into the military. 22. When did you retire again?
it, February the 1st of 2019.
Gosh. So just under 2 years. Like, guys, this dude's whole adult life, aside from the last 2 years, was spent in the military thus far.
And I
So
tell people, And you know, it's funny you say that because I tell people, this is my joke with everybody. I make them laugh so hard. I say, you remember the Birdman on Shawshank Redemption? And everybody thinks back and they like, they had to think. But I said, the dude that was always with the crow. They
Yeah.
say, yeah. I say, look. I say, you remember what he said when he got out? And they was like, no. I said, you remember he said he was institutionalized.
Mm.
And they was like, what? I said, yeah. I said, I feel like the Birdman. I said, because that's all I've known my whole entire life. I
Ah.
said, I'm institutionalized. I said, I went through almost for the first almost year that I was out of the Army. I made a comment to my wife one day. I said, man, I wish I was back in the Army. When I tell you, thought I punched her in her chest, she turned around and looked at me and was like, what? She said, so do you miss the soldiers? I said, no. I said, it ain't about the soldiers. People don't understand. If you in a place like that with so much camaraderie, so much brotherhood and all that stuff, to step out of that, to go to, oh man, I don't have nobody to turn to. I don't have this. I don't have that. It will drive you insane. And that's why when I connected with you and Chris and everybody else, it was like, I got somebody I can talk to now, somebody that understands my hustle mentality. I tell people, I said, I've always had that hustle mentality. Take care of this. I got to take care of this. I got to take care, regardless of it, myself, my wife, my son, my daughter, my mom, my brother. I always was that guy that tried to always be the one that you could depend on. That's always been me. I get a blessing of helping people. So when I got out the military, and I know you say you want to transition, when I got out the military, I literally was like, hey, I don't want to work for nobody. I don't. I'm sick of making other people rich. I'm sick of this. I'm sick. I'm sick of the people. I sit back and watch people making all this money. Not taking nothing from them, saying they're not working hard to get what they got. But it's like, I just put in 22 years of my life in the military, and you sitting back pretty much reaping the benefits of me protecting this country. And a lot of people don't understand that every day you go to work, there's a soldier dying. There's a Marine dying. There's a sailor dying in another country somewhere to protect this country for you to keep getting rich. So my mentality was, I'm not going to work for nobody else. But I knew there was a different way. I knew there was a different space for me to be in. So I started trying to figure out these different spaces. And luckily enough, I was introduced to Forex. I was introduced to Forex. I was introduced to the Forex space. And, he's a good friend. He's a good friend. I consider him a mentor. Him and his wife, he's a retired Air Force C-130 pilot. His name's Randy Webb and Wanda Webb, and he grew up in Compton, California, and if you go on my Facebook, I follow him and you'll see, and you can hear his story, and for me, I heard his story of how he grew up in Compton, wanting something better, how he joined the Air Force and wanted to be a pilot. But back when we joined the military, you didn't hear about too many black pilots. You didn't hear about too many black aviators in the Army. So he said he had a goal that he wanted to be a pilot. And I listened to his story, and it's like, man, if he can do that, I can do that. And he said when he got out when he got out of the military, when he got out of the Air Force, he said the same thing. He's like, I knew I wanted more than what I had. I want to have that generational wealth. I want to be able to give something to my kids that they don't have to struggle like I did. So that right there hit me because I was like, man, I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
And let's, before we dive deeper into that space, you mentioned how when you came out of the military, you felt institutionalized. Now, we hear the term institutional racism, systemic. We hear these terms, especially in today's society. And just like you said, there's people who were in it who was, you were in that space for so long, it became who you was. But then the people outside of it, they just couldn't really grasp it. They couldn't really get it. When you look at institutional racism, when you look at systemic, people who didn't have to be in it, they'll never understand it. So that's why you have the arguments. Well, no, it's not that bad. We've made so much progress. You don't live in it. You don't have the right to tell me that we've made progress. I have to tell you because I've lived in it. I'm the one that sees that person following me through the grocery store because the system over the years has said this person that looks like this from this type of neighborhood are probably going to do this. That's the system that I grew up in. You didn't grow up in that, so you can't tell me when things are changing. Now, to jump back on par, there's so many people who've lived in and they just say silver spoon. Life was easy for them. Had everything handed to them. Easy job come out of high school because their dad knew this person, knew that person. They already knew he's gonna work for this company. He's gonna be making $250,000 a year minimum. It was laid out for him. But then there comes people like yourself, like myself, coming out of South Mississippi. We didn't have that path laid out for us. The system was stacked up against us. So we had to figure out a different way. And those of us who get caught up and perpetuate the continuation of the poverty mindset. Now, don't get it twisted. I know that there's lots of variables that go into dropping people into poverty, but there's also lots of variables that can allow you to dig yourself out. But you got to be open-minded enough to connect yourself with certain individuals who've been there, done that, seen it, experienced it, been part of it, to where they can now show you the way. So you're mentioning some individuals like that now, and how things have started to shift for you since you've gotten into that space. So tell us a little bit more, man, about what you've been exposed to when it comes to Forex and like what you foresee yourself doing with that space.
Well, I mean, it's like I said, it was kind of like when it got introduced to me, it was like, okay, what is this? What is it? I already knew what Forex stood for. Like I said, been around the world 8 times. I know what foreign exchange is. Yeah. I know what it is. No. I just didn't know it was something that I could tap into.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was something I could tap into.
So pause on that one. You have been around the world, so you understood the notion of Forex. You understood the gargantuan industry that it is, because if you understand what those two words together mean, foreign exchange, you're exchanging foreign currency. There's so many different currencies that are foreign to your currency. And within those exchanges, there's profit that can be made. There's things that can happen to allow you to get money back. And I traveled to, I've been blessed to travel to a couple different countries. I spent time in Costa Rica and also in Bolivia. So I saw the difference in the exchange rates and such, but I never really understood, like you're going into now, that you could actually capitalize on that. So for those who don't understand foreign exchange, they're even more ignorant to the fact that this is something that you can actually take advantage of.
Yeah. And like I said, it was something that I was just like, hold up. Like, I know about trading this one. I mean, trade the US dollar for the euro, trade the US dollar for the yen. I know when you go to different countries, you got to stop at the foreign exchange thing and, do this. I knew all of that. But once I started talking to Randy, he was telling me, and he was explaining, he was like, if you look at these different patterns, and it's like you playing the stock market, but it's not the stock market. You playing with money that's that's constantly changing. It's constantly going up and down, and you can profit off of it. So when I first got started, it looked like an EKG machine.
Yep.
All I saw was lines. I saw red and blue lines. I saw red and green candles, and I'm just like, what am I looking at? And I'm not gonna lie, I'm still not the expert at it. Like we say in the Army, I'm not the SME. I'm not the subject matter expert on it.
Yeah.
But I am so determined to learn it and set myself up and set my kids up that I have not quit, you know, because that's the one thing I've always said was if I fail, it's going to be the most beautiful fail in the world because I've known if I still fail after all these times, I know I did everything possible in my God given right to do whatever I needed to do, and I still fail. So therefore, it must not be for me, but I still learned something from it.
Exactly.
You know, so as long as I didn't give up on it, I'm still gonna learn something from it. You know, so that's my big thing. And like I said, the forex, I've learned enough to where I can explain it to other people and get them started. Let's say you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I can lead you to the water and explain it to where you can get to the water. Now, if you want to stick your head down in the water and drink it, that's on you. But I did explain to you how to get to the water. You know, so that's one of the things that I'm grateful for. You know, and I tell people every day. I said whether good or bad, I'm grateful for the people that come in my life. You know, because I'm always learning something from somebody, regardless if it's good or bad. You know, and I think that's one of the things we have to understand as humans. You're not gonna always have sunny days. You know, they with those clouds. Oh man, it's raining. I can't go out. You know, I'm a dude that's gonna be outside in the rain playing because a little bit of water ain't gonna stop me. You know, so I just, you know, and like I said, the foreign exchange, I know we were talking about it, so I made a little bit of notes, and right now, you know, I've heard it, and so it's gotten ingrained in my head. This right now, most people don't understand that at this time in this pandemic and being at home, network marketing has become one of the biggest industries just in this 9 month time span of this pandemic. People are at home businesses, you know, doing all different types of stuff. And right now, the Forex industry alone is a $6.6 trillion industry that you can tap into. I mean, if people are willing to be coachable and learn and sit down and be teachable, they can earn money in this space and sit at home and not have to worry about going back to a job. You know, worry about going back. Hey, am I gonna have enough money to pay my bills? Am I gonna have enough money to put groceries in my refrigerator? You know, things like that. Because not only have I seen it work in person, I'm proof. I'm able to do it. You know, granted, I'm not in where I want to be on that level yet, but I'm seeing the results of if I keep pushing myself, I'm gonna get to that level. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that is you have to go through pain to get the pleasure.
Yeah.
You know?
And let me interject real quick because I'm following everything that you're laying out. I'm thinking all the way back to just the realization of how you can actually use the foreign exchange industry to generate income, and then how you're mentioning. And remind me real quick, how long have you actually been involved in the forex industry now?
Going on right. I actually dabbled in it before I retired out of the military, but I jumped into it fully May of 2019. So going on almost 2 years now.
Gotcha, guys. So a little over a year and a half. So
Yeah.
I like to put things into context for people to like really break it down. I forget who said. I think I forget what movie it was on. They said break it down, rich dummy style. So you have to look at looking at your specific situation. You mentioned earlier in your story that you knew out of high school you wasn't about to go straight into college. You already knew that wasn't your game. So whereas there's so many people that may be listening right now, well, I went to college and I did this, I did that. Well, when you go into any industry, you got to realize that not everybody is going to be your customer, your partner, whatever it may be. But there's so many people out there that they didn't get that college degree, or they got that college degree and like it's worthless right now. And during this time where so many people aren't working, they need to develop a new skill to start making some money. Now, do you think that, okay, let's say you went to college, do you think within a year and a half, 2 years in, you're going to be able to be one of the top in your space after just that? No, you got to put in time. And when you're consistently putting in time, after that 4 years, they say you should be able to get a good job in your field. Well, it ain't no different than any of these home-based businesses. Whereas if you come into these, and it's one of the things, and I know that you can relate. It's one of the things that I don't like, because I coach numerous people in various different home-based businesses, and I hear the pitches, I hear the presentations left and right. It's one of the things that I dislike the most is they sell it that you can become super successful super quick. It's possible, but it's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely. But through time, over time, if you're consistent with it, specifically when it's something like foreign exchange where you're learning a skill, and learning that skill can take you far. Now, I forget where I was about to go with this, but one of the things that I really admire is when people actually use numbers to make sense of their argument. Now, I forget what speaker, entrepreneur it was, mentioned that, like there's a 1% chance that we'll just use football. There's a 1% or only 1% of college athletes will make it to the pro. But that doesn't mean that there's only 1% chance that you will make it. That's how so many people get it twisted. And they say only this percentage of individuals in this industry generate more than six figures or generate 50,000 plus. That doesn't mean that you only have that small percentage of a chance. That just means that that percentage of people, that small percentage of people, they never gave up. They continue to learn. If they learned in the first couple months, or if they learned in the first decade, they continue to learn. So you have to sometimes ask yourself, is it worth the next 4 years of my life putting my nose down, paying this tuition, however you pay your tuition, going to class? Is it worth it to be at the top of my game 4 years later? Is it worth it? And so many people, if it don't happen in 4 weeks, if it don't happen in 4 days, it don't work. It's a scam. And that's it, man. People can say,
but you say that is if it don't work in 4 days, or if it don't work at this time. And I always try to tell people, because when I talk about it, everybody, we talked before about how when I would present it to people, I presented to some of my friends, and they say, oh, that's a scam, that's a pyramid scheme, and this is this, and this, and this. And it's just like, okay, prime example, you worked at McDonald's. Did you own that McDonald's?
Nope.
Oh, no, there's somebody that's probably in New York somewhere that's the CEO of McDonald's. You're not the CFO, you're not the CEO, or you're not none of them. You don't own a franchise. You're not a manager. You're just a lonely peon at the bottom. I said, so go all the way up. What is that? That's a pyramid. When you was in high school, you worked at the grocery store. Did you own the grocery store? No. Were you the manager of the grocery store? No. Were you a supervisor? No. You was a night stalker. Oh, I'm sorry. Go back up. What is that? That's a pyramid.
Yeah.
On a football team in high school, were you the captain of the football team? No. Were you the coach? No. Okay, so guess where you at the bottom? That's a pyramid.
And really, even to polish up that argument, because when I have conversation around that, I have to make sure it's nicely polished, because it's easy for one to say, well, at least I got a salary. At least I'm guaranteed if I show up this number of days per week, I'm getting paid. You can show up and bust your butt all week long, and if you don't make any sales, you don't get paid. So that's why your pyramid is worse than my pyramid. Now, at the same time, you can flip it back around. And I'm not one to bash any organizational structure, but you can flip it back around. Well, at the same time, you go out, you got this wage, your own salary, whatever. At the end of the day, once you hit a certain amount of income, they're gonna either send you home, you can't get no more overtime, or
Exactly.
you don't get no bonus. But in
Exactly.
here, if I go hard enough, there's no cap to how much I can generate. Now, at the same time, statisticians are going to come at you. Well, there's only, they say you go out and get this many people, this many people. If you go down 7 levels deep, that's going to equate the entire globe's, the entire world's population. Those arguments are made, but you got to realize that not everybody is going to do what's necessary. That's just like
Exactly.
you're going to tell your son, well, son, like you only have a 1% chance if everybody went out and said that they're going to make it to the league like you and just gave hard like you. Nope, like they don't have that many spots on the roster in the NFL. So you're going to give up? You're going to quit? So just understanding, okay, what are my expectations from this company? Am I looking to generate X amount of dollars so I can make sure I take care of these bills? I can purchase this property. I can give this much to mom so she's good for the next amount. Like having those measurables in place, and then figuring out, okay, how much activity, how many people, how many phone calls do I need to do to make this happen? That's when you can just disregard any of the arguments. I ain't worried about all that. I'm not your typical person in this industry that's saying that every single person that comes to the table is going to be no. Not everybody is going to succeed. But if you don't quit, your probability for success is so much higher than the probability of optimal success in your traditional line of employment. Now, I haven't worked for an actual company since, or a traditional job setting since 2015. I have had a stint with one network marketing company from 2012 to about 2016, 2017. And all in all, I always had to look back, just like you mentioned earlier. My name is not on the license as ownership for this company. So I got to figure out, okay, what can I do to at least start working towards having my name on the license for this company? And getting into the whole network marketing space, that's what gave me that stepping stool to start my own company and to be able to funnel all these other resources, these other services through my partnerships into my company, to where my name is on the license. I'll put up the paperwork for you. But with that being said, man, like I know you mentioned you're in a life insurance, or you're licensed as a life insurance agent. Like, what is your past in that space, and how do you foresee yourself using it? And just to give a little preface, like right now, guys, whatever your beliefs are around the coronavirus, they're saying 250 plus people have died this year. And I'm sure most of them were not expecting to be dying this time last year. So when I was a licensed insurance agent down in Miami, Florida, one of the things that we always said was it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And there's so many people right now, not only are they grieving the loss of their loved one, but they're realizing that, you know what, we can't pay his bills that he was paying. We're gonna have to let that house go that we were expecting the family to move into. So just tell us a little bit about like your past so far with life insurance and how you really want to use it.
Well, I mean, when I first got it, I like we were talking before we started. I didn't even have it, because what I applied for this insurance company was to go train people. Which and coming from the military, training people, that's what we do. But then when I got there, I was told, hey, you need to get your insurance license and this and this. So I was like, okay, because my ultimate goal is to train. I want to be the train. If that's what I got to do, that's what I'm gonna do. So I went and studied, and like most people study for that test for like a month, 2 months maybe to go take this test. I studied for a week to go take the test. I mean, literally, that's how bad I was trying to, do something.
I studied for a few weeks and I failed my first one. I had to,
Exactly, and that's what because when a good friend of mine in North Carolina, he has his, and when he found out about, he's like, hold up. He said, you did what? I said, yeah. I said, I only studied for 7 days. He said, hold up, you studied for 7 days and you passed the test after 7? I said, yeah. He said, do you understand? Most people don't do that. I said, well, I said, you gave me a task to do. I'm going to do it. So, and I passed the test, but then after I passed the test, things didn't work out. So it was one of those things where it wasn't so much a bad thing because I did gain some experience, but it was a bad thing because I was told something different and it didn't go the way I was told.
yeah.
It was some shady stuff. So, and I had put applications out there, and it wasn't like I was really looking for a job. Cause like I said, I retired from the military. I got a retirement check. I'm getting disability. I just wanted to do something to keep me out of the house during the day while my son was at school. While my wife's at work, my son's at school. I'm tired of sitting around the house. I did that for 6 months, and figured out this is not what I want to do. So, I had to find something to do. And that's one of the other things that drove me into the entrepreneur thing because I was like, I want to work. I think, and a lot of people they don't understand that you can work without working. What I like about being, starting a whole entrepreneurial thing is because you can work without working. If you do things the right way, you can work without working. And a lot of people don't understand it. And literally with my life insurance, like I said, my friend, he asked me, and I literally was like, you know what? I'm not gonna waste it. I literally studied hard to get this thing, so I might as well keep it. I might as well be able to help people out. So that was one of the biggest things to why I'm not letting it expire, and I'm starting to go into the insurance thing with him, with the life insurance, because I feel like this, coming from a personal space, with my cousin passing away last year, he had a heart attack out of the blue. He didn't, and come to find out, he didn't have life insurance. So of course my aunts, they get with all the cousins and all my aunts and uncles. We all put in money to help pay for the funeral. She had to sell his mom's car that she left behind when she passed away. So those types of things, and I saw that, but I wasn't new to the life insurance because being in the military, you got to have life insurance. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't new to it. So it was kind of like, you know what? Let me go jump into something I know, because everybody need life insurance. Like you said, things unexpected. I had a friend, his mom passed away from the coronavirus earlier, and so it's unexpected things, and people don't understand that. And a lot of people, I hear people say, well, what do I need life insurance for? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's not for you. It's for your family. A lot of people don't understand that life insurance is not for you personally. Life insurance is for your family to take care of all the things that come along with you dying. So therefore, you leave them with some way to pay your outstanding bills, or to pay for your funeral, or to pay for those things that you need. Versus, hey, I'm dead now. Now I leave everything to them, and they gotta go into they bank accounts. They barely making money as it is, or they barely have savings. Because on average in the United States, do you know more than 50% of average Americans have less than $1,000 in their account? Yep. In a savings account? More than 50% of the average American has less than $1,000 in a savings account. So imagine if you was to drop dead today and you didn't have life insurance, and you have less than $1,000 in your savings account. How you gonna pay for a funeral? The average funeral cost in America is $10,000. So that's what life insurance is for. It's for the people that you leave behind that say, hey, here's the money to pay for this stuff, because I know I don't have $10,000 in my savings account to go towards your funeral. So therefore, let me help my family out by giving them this buffer to be able to take care of me if something dies.
Yeah,
and that's what. And a lot of people look at it and say, "Oh, it's so expensive." Okay, how much do you value your life? That's
Right.
and being in the military, that's what I tell people. How much do you value your life, and how much do you value your family's life of being taken care of?
I
How
like
much
it.
do you want to take care of your family? Because my thing is this: if I die tomorrow, I can die happy knowing that, hey, my kids still gonna be able to go to college. My wife gonna be able to pay for this house we live in. The cars in the driveway gonna be paid for, and she's still gonna have money in the bank. Because I decided when I was in the military, yeah, the military gives me insurance, but guess what? I'm gonna take it upon myself and I'm gonna go buy an extra life
Yes.
insurance policy.
Now,
Because when I get out of the military, that life insurance policy goes away,
yep.
and at least I still have one.
That's just like a traditional job. So, I'm gonna take this in two different directions. Anybody, and this goes for anybody who's listening to this, whether you're listening live or you listen to the replay, if it ever comes out of your mouth, I don't need life insurance. Why? If that ever comes out of your mouth, you are completely self-centered and you do not care about your family. You got kids, you're irresponsible. You do not care about their life. Because if you were to die, not only, as I mentioned earlier, not only would they be mourning your loss, any debt that you have, you're pretty much saying, y'all worry about that. I'm gone. I ain't got to worry about it no more. And you're pretty much saying, oh, so now you can't go to college because you got all this debt that I left. You worry about that. I'm gone. I ain't got that. That's completely self-centered and it's sad. But the thing is, we haven't been educated enough throughout the generations to really grasp that thought. We've been passed down that you don't get life insurance. That's a waste of money. It's been passed down. And now flipping that, if you look at and a lot of the white communities, the Jewish communities, like you come out before you're out of high school, you already know you got this much money of a policy that has built up to this amount by the time you hit college, but you better not touch it because by the time you retire, 8 million of it is going to be available for you to take care of yourself. 15 million of it is going to be set aside for the next generation. We continue to pass it down. That's how generational wealth is created. There's savings and investment programs built into some of these whole life programs, so these whole life policies. And then if you're that person that, what, my money a little funny, I'm a little tight in the pocket right now, there's term life to where if you feel that, God forbid, we're in a time like we're in right now, there's somebody in this family that may be vulnerable. Put that person on a term policy. It's a lot cheaper and it's only for a specific term. We know this is going to be behind us eventually. So have a little 4-5 year term policy and you can extend it out once you get closer, extend it out even longer. But understanding that the sad thing, and this is what makes it even more sad. There's more of us that have insurance on this little thing right here that we can replace time after time after time. But I'm not walking out the T-Mobile, the Sprint, or wherever unless I have insurance on this. But you don't put insurance on your own life.
Yep, we pay insurance on cars every month.
Yeah. Like
that's what I tell people. I say you will pay insurance on a car every month. You can come up with that $300, $400, $500 to pay the insurance on a car, but you can't come up with $100 to $200 just to get you a small policy or life insurance.
That car, if you
and that car can be replaced. Your life can't.
Exactly, and that's it. And it's just it's education, and it's continuing to hammer it into our people on a consistent basis. Because once it's been so long of a law to have insurance on your car that all of us budget it in as a necessity. Like you've got to do this. So when we put it into our mind that, okay, life insurance, that's a necessity, and you automatically budget that in as well, you're going to start living a little bit differently because this money has to go here because once I hit this age, I want to have this much money to live off of. Plus, I want to be able to make sure that my kids are taken care of, all that good stuff. And then at the same time, having a certain number of policies and having your policies set up the right way, plus having the right streams of income, getting connected with some type of home-based business. Right now, guys, home-based business, that's where it's at. so many people, and we're gonna get a little political real quick. There's so many people that hate the Donald Trumps, the Jeff Bezos, the Tim Cooks, or I think that's the Apple guy name, like because they don't pay nothing in taxes. You can be so much closer to them if you actually had a home base. You ain't got to, the first 3 years, you can be in the negative every single year with your business and you get money back. You get money back. You don't even have to pay taxes most if you do it the right way because you could, I think there's like 280.
You can write off up to two, I think it's like right at 280.
Yeah,
Like it's somewhere around there, but you can
yeah,
write pretty much. I could write off my laptop right now.
exactly.
I could write off this new ring light that I just bought today. You know, I can write off this nice chair I bought a couple of days ago because I can put it all towards my home-based business. Mm-hmm. You know, I could even get to the point to where how we pay our cell phone.
Yeah.
Guess what I can just do now? I can switch this from a normal account to a business account phone, and then therefore this cell phone, my wife's cell phone, because she would be my co-founder. My son, he's the CFO. You know, I can write all of that off.
Vacations. We're not taking no more vacations.
We ain't taking vacations. We on business trips. I can go see my mama in North Carolina. Oh, that's a business trip because hey, I might go talk to some people about some insurance, or I might go talk to them about Forex while I'm there. So that's a business trip now, you know, and that's those are the little things that I've started to learn. And and I know you probably seen on a couple of my Instagram posts, maybe my Facebook, but this is one thing one of my mentors taught me, and again that's Randy. He said, "You change your circle, you change your circumstances." You know. Change your circle, you change your circumstances. So I'm learning a lot because even though I'm not where he is, I'm not where you are, I'm not where Chris is, I'm not at that level to where I can just go in the bank and take money out like that right now. I understand that, hey, if I start doing these little things add up to the big things. Rome wasn't built, what's the old saying? Rome wasn't built in a day. So guess what? It was built brick by brick. So that's what I'm doing. I'm building my Rome brick by brick. And on every last one of those bricks, there's something that I learned from everybody in my life. That's real. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. And like you said, that you made a point. You said it. People don't want to take the time to sit down and do it. But again, if you read, The Richest Man in Babylon, I read that book twice so far, and I thought about something that it was said in that book, how the pauper, I don't know exactly his job, but he was a pauper, and the rich man came into Babylon, and he asked him, he said, "Well, how did you make all your money?" You know, and he's like, "Well, if you want to know, you know, this is the things you need to do, A, B, C, D, and if you follow this, you may not become rich tomorrow, but eventually you will." And he did exactly what he told him to do, and he eventually became rich. You know, he eventually became rich, but a lot of people aren't willing to put that time in. But then it's two folds to that, because we've had this conversation before about the crabs in a bucket syndrome. You know, that old proverbial crab in a bucket. You know, you got that one crab that come up to the top, and he's stepping on people to get out the bucket. Excuse me. But when he gets out the bucket, or he gets to the top of the bucket, he throw the deuces. I'm out. I made it. And that's one of the things I have found in the Black community is we get to the top of the bucket. We don't jump from the top of the bucket. We skydive. We disappear. We out. We are so scared to turn around and pull that next person back to the top of the bucket because we scared they're going to do better than what we doing. And it's like, you don't understand. If you pull him to the top of the bucket, it's a chain reaction, and we all come together as one. We gonna outdo anybody.
Power.
It's not gonna be, hey, I'm trying to outdo you or you trying to outdo me. It's, hey, we about to outdo them. And that's what people don't understand. And I resort that back. I thank God for that military mindset of we are one team. We one team. And I know people like to say, "Oh, y'all always make it a black and white thing." That's reality. That is reality, and people got to understand. In some cases, that is how reality works. Because you see other communities, and people say, "Oh, I'm downtrodden. I'm this. I'm this. I'm that. I'm this. I'm that." It's because look at how these communities stick together. Look at how some of these communities stick together. This is why they in certain positions that we ain't in, because they did certain things as a community versus individually. We always can say, and I don't say this to beat down on nobody, but we have always used that saying, it takes a village to raise one child. When it comes to raising kids, why not raise the community the same way?
That's real.
It takes a whole village to become successful. Besides just taking a village to raise a child, it takes a village for the whole village to become successful. And that's the mentality that I have, because like I told you before, I don't care if I don't get to where I'm at, because I know eventually I'll get there in Forex. But I want to help as many people as I can at least understand that there is a way to do better. There's a way to be better. There's a way that you can get exactly what this person over here is getting. You just got to put in a little bit of work to do it.
That's it, man. Stop, baby. That's too loud. And and I want to kind of start, because my battery about to die. I want to kind of use this to start to close. You mentioned the brick wall and laying a brick at a time. There's those of us that are great at handling the bricks. We can take the brick from here, take it over there real quick. That's the best at it. Then there's those of us that can lay it as perfect can be. And there's those of us that can put that mortar on there as smooth and as even. If we all come together, we play our part, and we do one little brick at a time as perfect as possible, the wall that we build, which is our community, like, it would be impenetrable. Nobody couldn't do anything with it. But we have to be able to come together, practice group economics, really be willing to support one another. If we figure out that, you know what, I want to support one of ours in this space, but I don't know nobody in this space that is one of ours. Let's go find somebody.
Yeah, go find somebody.
Look over here. He's got a skill set to be successful in that space. Let's put the resources in front of him so he can have his own enterprise in that space, and we can support him. For those who are familiar with Killer Mike, he did a show called Trigger Warning on Netflix, and he spent this whole, I think he tried to do like a 24-hour period or a whole week or something, to where he only bought black, like the entire period. It was so difficult because there's not enough of us in ownership in spaces across the spectrum. So we got to start filling those gaps. And for those who are unfamiliar, there's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Claude Anderson. He was over the Board of Education in Florida back in the day, and he has what he calls Dr. Anderson's 5-story building. Whereas when we can build this 5-story building, that's when we have regained the position of having a true Black community. That first floor being group economics, to where we're actually supporting ourselves, supporting one another. We're buying from our people. So we are actually keeping that dollar circulating in our community for so much longer than the 6 hours that is traditionally known right now. The second floor is the courts. So the judges, everybody who's passing down the law, saying this person is going to be gone for this many years, this person that many years. We have control in that space. That's going to actually allow us to stay out there doing the things instead of getting locked up for these petty reasons. Then we got the profession, the third floor, the public offices. So your city clerks, like your just the various different government entities, like that space, right? We got to have people in that area. And then after that, the media. So instead of only showing whenever we out here shooting up each other, which we got to get better at, instead of only showing that, we're actually highlighting when this kid is like the top of his class. We're actually highlighting when this Good Samaritan act was done by someone in our community, and it's not just a negative press. And then we tackle the education. Now I'm gonna go back. The second level was judges and political figures. So whenever we practice the proper group economics on the first floor, the second floor, that's when we can pour the money into the campaigning and everything to make sure we got people in office that actually know what it is that we need in the community. And then work our way up to that fifth floor. That's when we have our own community. But there's not enough of us that can get rid of that crab in the bucket mentality, that have the open mind to understand that, you know what, to be able to circulate this dollar a whole lot longer, I got to figure out what kind of business can I start. I got to help, my kids, my cousins figure out, you know what, let's start a business together. Let's start investing together. Let's buy a property together. And that's how we can keep that dollar in our community for so much longer. And you and I, we have a mentor that's training us how to do just that. So, with that being said, man, where can people find you? Where can people learn more about what you got going on? I want to be able to drop it in the comments so people can reach out to you.
Well, if anybody want to reach out to me, they can find me on Facebook, and they can find me at CEO James Smith on Instagram, and we can talk from there. Also, if you look me up on Facebook, it's gonna be kind of difficult to find. But if you send me a DM, it'll be ty14200 at yahoo.d. And yes, it's D. If people ask, that's correct. It's a German email address.
Got it.
Yeah.
So spell out CEO Smith for Instagram. Spell that out for me. I'm gonna drop it in the chat for us.
So CEO James Smith, CEO JAMES SMITH.
Got it. All right. So I'm dropping that in the chat. You can check him out on IG, CEO James Smith, and we can drop the rest in the chat afterwards. Go back and listen, guys. If you're looking to acquire a new skill and you're willing to learn, this Forex space, it's a space that a lot of people out there are making some good money, making some real good money, but you got to be willing to put in the work. You can't think it's going to happen overnight. You got to work. You go to college, you're going to study. You're going to write reports. You're going to submit reports. You're going to ask questions. You're going to go to your little conferences, your colloquiums. You're going to go to all of that. It ain't no different whenever you're learning a skill in the network marketing, any type of home-based, direct sales, whatever. You got to be willing to put in the work, and it'll pay off in the long run. So for those of you who are looking for life insurance, as we spoke earlier, reach out to James to get a little bit. Just have a conversation first. As he said, he's just getting back into the space, so just have a conversation. Maybe he can point you in the right direction for now until he gets everything in his space running. If you need some term policies, I actually got a partnership with a company that does term life insurance. But just understand that there's resources out there for you. In our community, there's resources out there. There's people out there that are doing the thing, but you got to be willing to reach out, because we're out here, like what I'm doing right now. I do these lives on various different platforms with people almost every week, multiple times a week. And I'm on the phone with multiple people even more. Man, James, I already know I'm on webinars, like literally seems like all day, every day. But the thing is, we want to be on a webinar with you. We want to be helping you learn. We want to be helping you see the potential of your future and the probability of your success. But we ain't going to be able to help you until you help yourself. Like you say, you can lead a horse to the water, but it's going to be pretty difficult to make that horse thirsty, and unless you got some type of magic or put a rabbit out your hat. But off that note, man, anything else you want to leave to our audience before we call it a night?
I mean, I just literally, you know how much I appreciate it, because you brought me out of my comfort zone. But I'm glad you did, and like I said, we can do more of these. And now I know, it's and I like I said before, I'm here to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been told by a couple people that we know, hey, you served in the military, you turn around, you still serving. That's me.
Yeah.
I love it. I get my blessings from helping as many as I can help. I give more. I give more than I receive, and if I'm able to give something to somebody and even just touch somebody's life, I'm happy. And all I ask is a thank you. You know, that's it, because that's always been me. So like you said, if anybody who wants to help, reach out to me. I'm here. I'm always open to help anybody I can, and if you can help me, hey, reach out to me. I'm always looking for help as well. We can just conversate. But I'm glad you gave me this chance, and I hope we can do it again, and maybe we can set something up to where I can pull a couple people, and we have
Sure.
a bigger conversation.
Oh yeah, and what I was just about to say is we're gonna dive off into each of these areas a little bit more in the future as well. So hit a little bit more on the forex space, a little bit more on the real estate space, but really a little bit more on your experience coming out of the military, because I feel like so many people need to hear
Oh
that
yeah,
conversation,
yeah,
and like I really feel like that's what can create the network that you need, and then everything else that you have to offer, they're gonna start picking and choosing. Like, okay, I need this too, I need that too. I'm in a network now, so
yeah,
we'll definitely have more conversations around that. We'll do some lives in that space because people out there hurting, man. Like they're out
yeah,
there hurting.
yeah.
And
And I mean, with everything that's going on, I'm glad I could help somebody. And I hate to see people. I hate to see people fight them up.
battery about to die.
My grandmother always made sure she told us open. We all the color on the inside, so let's treat everybody the same. Black, white, purple, blue, or
That's it, man.
green. We all go into the dirt in the end, so we got to help each other while we can. So, that's always been
That's
my
real.
philosophy, and I try to keep that philosophy. Even though I say black and white this or whatever, I still believe we all came from the same place, and we all gonna go back to the same place. So
Exactly. We have to be. We are just people who are we're attracted to, or we resonate with what's similar. So
exactly,
off that note, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night because my battery about to die. I'm down to 1%. Thank you, James. It's been a pleasure. We're gonna do
no
it.
doubt.
And you have a good night. Everybody who's watching, have a blessed night, and don't hesitate to reach out. Take care
All
now.
right, all right.